Hello, I'm Peter Stewart. Welcome to today's episode of Get a Better Broadcast podcast and voice over voice. I'm being particularly careful with my mic placement today because we're talking about noisy breathing on the show. Yeah, it's part of our series looking at some of the symptoms of different presentation techniques or verbal situations that people have got into. So it's something, maybe the way they speak or the sound of their voice, one thing or another. We're covering all of them here on Get a Better Broadcast podcast and voice over voice. Today it is the turn, as I suggested, of noisy breathing. Your in-breath can be clearly heard on a recording sometimes, maybe as a suck, sometimes with a lip smack as well. Can I do that? Something like that, is it? Yeah? Or maybe it's a wheeze. Something like that. And I cover these along with others from episode 92, the 7 kinds of extra weird mouth noises. Yeah, episode 92. I remember those. I love doing those ones. Extra weird mouth noises like that. So what can you do? Well, re-angle yourself or the microphone so breaths are less likely to be picked up. Or as a last resort, reduce the level of every breath in the final recording. Boy, oh boy, that's time consuming, isn't it? When actually what you can do is just move your head a couple of degrees away from the microphone. I mean, removing the breaths completely may result in the script sounding unnatural with words and sentences butted together. You don't want that. You just want to reduce, keep the breaths, keep that space there, keep the pause, but just reduce the level slightly. But you know what, even on a really short recording of a minute or so, you're going to be breathing, every 5-10 seconds? That's an awful lot of changes, of variations that you're going to have to be making. Rather better to fix it in pre rather than post-production, isn't it? Relax. Yeah, that noise may be caused by a tightness or obstruction in the airways, the mouth, the throat, the upper chest. We've spoken about relaxation methods before. Don't breathe before you've properly opened your mouth. You're aiming for it being wide enough to slide a half-burger bun in, but not a fully constructed Whopper. You're hungry now, aren't you? I thought you would be. Consider if you're sitting properly. A slumped posture will mean less air can get in to power your voice. And that means that not only the air that you do breathe is quickly used up, and so you have to breathe more often, but that you have little control over how it powers your words. Exercise. Don't smoke. Kind of stands to reason, doesn't it? That if your lungs have got a problem with your lungs, yeah, it's going to be difficult for you to breathe properly. And also, a tip that I remember hearing so regularly from Nick Redman, who I'm sure you know as well. I've never met her, we've never spoken, but I really admire her work. Nick Redman, who says, actually, don't force that breath in. Just let it drop in naturally, because it's going to happen. You're not going to die in front of the mic. Yeah, you don't have to suck it in. You just have to be relaxed enough and open enough, physically and mentally, for the breath to the air just to drop in to your lungs. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Don't get nervous about it. It will happen. So, a few tips there on noisy breathing, or rather, how to avoid noisy breathing. Tomorrow, the plonking speech pattern. Now, we've kind of looked at this several times in the past, but we're going to be looking at it from a slightly different direction. Yeah, remember a few days ago we looked at the ending sentence pattern, where sometimes, particularly on news reports, people will end the news report by plonking the last 3 words of the sentence or the report or the paragraph, whatever it may be. Something like that. Tomorrow, slightly different, the plonking speech pattern. Why do people do it? How can you overcome it? We'll talk about it tomorrow as Get a Better Broadcast podcast and voice over voice continues. From London, I'm Peter Stewart. And if you meet Nick, say hello.